This is 7 Nightly News with John Riddell and Narelle Hill.
Tonight, a heater sparks a fatal home unit fire.
A recurring nightmare for Newton residents.
And a manhunt after a wild chase through the suburbs.
Good evening. Also tonight, signs of a breakthrough in out-of-pocket health expenses.
But first, a 93-year-old woman using a small electric radiator to warm up her kitchen has perished in a house fire. Fire authorities say the Cumberland Park woman may have been saved had her home unit been fitted with a smoke alarm.
The fire brigade responded just before 8 last night to 2 000 calls from this block of elderly citizens' homes in Eaton Street, Cumberland Park. On arrival, they found Unit 10 engulfed in smoke.
When firefighters came inside the property, they were on their hands and knees to do the search. It was very difficult, very hot. Visibility was nil.
Fire officers found the body of 93-year-old Roma Slavin in the kitchen doorway, but there was nothing they could do to save her.
We believe that a small electric radiator that was close to combustible material in the kitchen started the fire.
Mrs. Slavin had lived in the unit for 25 years. This morning, her relatives were trying to come to terms with their loss. It's possible old age may have prevented her from escaping the fire.
No, she couldn't move very quickly. Her legs are a bit wonky. She needed a walking frame to move around.
But as is the case in many of these types of fire fatalities, the victim's home unit wasn't fitted with a smoke alarm, denying nearby residents of any early warning of the impending tragedy.
It would have easily helped the situation. It would have got us here a lot earlier.
Phil Luke, 7 Nightly News.
Newton residents are calling for an urgent upgrade of water mains on Gorge Road. Today, the latest in a series of gushers again threatened homes. Damage was minimal, but locals say they've had enough.
The burst main sent a torrent of water 15 metres into the air. Neighbours' homes were sprayed by the gusher. As the water poured into overflowing gutters, householders feared their properties would be flooded.
You know, it was just like exploded. Sort of happened like down the road a few years ago. So we were lucky it didn't actually have the full impact towards the house.
Locals still have vivid memories of the fate suffered by the De Corso family in 1992. Their home was destroyed, sparking a lengthy legal battle over compensation. Today, United Water workers were on the scene within minutes. The burst main shut down within half an hour. The damage was confined to some minor flooding in a front yard. Gorge Road residents say they're sick and tired of what's become a recurring problem.
I think that they're all just time bombs ready to go off, actually. I think it should be reviewed and they should look into it. I mean, seeing that it happens, you know, so often.
Jackie Drewer, 7 Nightly News.
Police are searching for 2 youths following a wild high-speed chase through inner suburban streets this morning. The pair ran red lights, crossed over median strips, drove on the wrong side of the road and even tried to ram police cars in their desperate attempt to get away.
The chase began at Glenunga in the eastern suburbs and lasted for half an hour. It finally ended at Gilberton when the sedan slammed through traffic lights and smashed into the side wall of the Buckingham Arms Hotel. The 2 men ran off. Police dogs were used to search the grounds of nearby Wilderness School, but no one was found. Another high-speed chase overnight ended just after midnight when a stolen SS Commodore crashed into a Stobie pole on the corner of South and McInnes Roads at Ridleyton. Also overnight, a hold-up on a Pizza Hut delivery shop on Prospect Road. 2 men, one brandishing a long-barrel firearm, burst into the shop just before midnight. Both offenders wore balaclavas. After threatening staff, they ran off with about $700. Earlier in the night, another hold-up, this time on the Evandale Deli on Portrush Road, where the shop assistant was threatened with an army-style hunting knife. 2 men were seen driving off in a red Nissan Pulsar. Anyone with information's asked to call Bank SA Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000. Peter Caldecott, 7 Nightly News.
Good and bad news tonight for Australians with private health insurance. The government's set to eliminate out-of-pocket expenses by closing the so-called gap payment. But the plan, which has yet to get final approval from doctors, will lead to higher insurance costs.
At the moment, paying for private health insurance only covers part of the cost of treatment. The insurance payment may not equal what the doctor charges, and the difference is known as the gap. But now that gap is being filled.
I had a meeting with the president of the AMA. I think we've reached a breakthrough. He's asked me to make some changes to legislation to allow a greater range of gap products. I'm prepared to do that.
Under the plan, hospitals would act as go-betweens to make sure doctors' charges match the payments from health funds, but gap insurance would push up the cost of health premiums.
Well, we certainly want them to be able to choose their own doctors and choose whether they have gap insurance or not.
Previous attempts to bridge the gap have angered doctors who feared insurance companies would make decisions about how patients were treated. But this latest plan has the support of both groups.
And so long as we can stop them having to pay unexpected bills, I think people will come into health insurance in droves.
The government has already introduced a 30% rebate for private health insurance and incentives to encourage people to join up while they're still young. In Canberra, Jeff Bruce, 7 Nightly News.
NATO's defended its attack on the Kosovar village of Krisa, in which scores of ethnic Albanians were killed. It claims the target area was a military camp, and it was Serb authorities who put the refugees in danger by keeping them there. Back in Adelaide, the developments have been met with outrage by local members of the Serbian community. 200 Serbs gathered at their church in Hindmarsh and marched to the steps of Parliament House, where speakers denounced NATO's tactics in the Balkans.
Premier John Olsen's urging South Australians to do all they can to make Adelaide-bound Kosovo refugees feel at home. The Hampstead Haven Centre is ready to accept refugees from tomorrow, but it's still not known when the first intake will arrive. Meanwhile, 200 Kosovans are preparing to spend their first night at Puckapunyal in Victoria.
On the road for 6 weeks, their flight from the horrors of ethnic cleansing, bringing them thousands of miles to Melbourne. Good morning. Smiling and waving, the Kosovars filed into a hangar at Melbourne Airport, some of the youngest refugees clutching newfound Australian friends. With a military and police escort, the convoy headed north to the safe haven at Puckapunyal. From the Hume Highway, the Kosovars took in their first views of the Victorian countryside, and local residents made sure they felt welcome.
We just think that as Australians we'd like to welcome the people that aren't so lucky from Yugoslavia coming here.
The Kosovars were initially concerned about staying in barracks at an active army base, but within minutes of arriving, children were happily playing and exploring their new home. Kosovar families have told the army their only need is to feel safe.
These people are not scared of rifles. They're not scared of tanks. They're not scared of soldiers. They're scared of atrocity.
At Puckapunyal, Darren Linton, 7 Nightly News.
Coming up, an eye-opener for sufferers of poor vision.
And glamorous glad rags win Australian fashion accolades.
Are you feeling stressed? Then you're in good company.
She is really suffering from a major anxiety problem.
He's the mind doctor who understands.
You've got to stop comforting her. That makes it worse.
Harry's Practice, tonight at 6:30. Then at 7, what would it be like switching lives for a day?
Now we all put our heads on the desk and sleep on it.
Dad plays while he's the boss.
Maybe the guy should be like this.
Kids Speak, tonight at 7 after Harry's Practice on 7. Australia Post is delivering more than the mail.
For low cost, guaranteed next business day delivery, you can't go past Express Post. Tomorrow, these will be in Sydney.
Melbourne. We're asking you pay all these bills in one place with just one payment. Post Bill Pay saves me time and money.
Who'd have thought you could get so much from your local post shop?
Parcel Post gives me a reliable, cost-effective way to get my products to customers all over Australia.
More services, more convenience, more commitment. Australia Post.
All around the world, mankind is troubled by the stars. And now, with ANZAC Australia, as a member of the Star Alliance network of airlines, you can travel by the stars all around the world.
Today, Brand Pal looks at a new innovation from Glad.
Glad perforated wrap. Now, instead of cutting the wrap, just pull and tear off. It's easy. Each roll has 50 pre-perforated sheets, sized for your most common food protection needs, like wrapping sandwiches, sealing bowls, or covering plates. Plus, there's Glad stick and stay spots, so it's easy to find the next sheet. Glad perforated wrap. It's easy, quick, and economical. Try it. Brand power, helping you buy better.
Russian President Boris Yeltsin has survived a showdown with communists who want him removed from office. Lawmakers rejected 5 motions of impeachment, including one that he was responsible for the disastrous Chechen war. In a display of Yeltsin's influence, 46 MPs spoiled their ballot papers, while a quarter didn't even bother to show up. The victory comes just 3 days after Yeltsin dismissed popular Prime Minister Yevgeny Primakov.
Complex eye surgery in Adelaide is taking on a new look thanks to a revolutionary machine. The American-made device is restoring sight to thousands of patients, in particular diabetics.
Local surgeons perform more than 10,000 cataract operations a year. As well, there are thousands more on blind diabetic patients, removing unwanted blood from the vitreous of the eye. Now, a high-tech machine called a Curus is on trial at both the Ashford and Royal Adelaide hospitals. Tiny instruments, including a blade and a light, are used in conjunction with the machine's icon-driven screen, and the results are astounding.
The recovery of the eye is much better, the visual results are better, the patient sees better sooner.
One of the biggest advantages for patients is that recovery time is dramatically reduced. The operation is shorter and it's done with a local anaesthetic, so you can be in and out in a day.
When the surgery was done in separate stages, it could take 3 to 4 hours. Now, with this machine, the same operation is possible in 1.5 hours.
69-year-old Wally Taylor is one of the lucky ones.
I couldn't see it all from the left eye prior to the operation. I can see it now.
Jessica Sullivan, 7 Nightly News.
A week of champagne and schmoozing is winding up in Sydney as Fashion Week comes to an end. Celebrated Aussie model Sarah O'Hare graced the catwalk in a spectacular finale last night. Her new husband Lachlan Murdoch just one of a sea of admiring faces in the audience. Aside from the glitz and glamour, Fashion Week's been declared a major financial success, with those in the know predicting it will generate more than $30 million worth of orders.
Lucky old Lachlan.
Stop drawing.
She's a very nice lady, actually. Bruce, sport, the Crows.
They've just gone down
No
in
good
Perth,
in the
now
West.
they're right back in the middle of the pack. We'll have all the AFL highlights coming up, including one of the goals of the year from Brenton Sanderson.
Sandra Bullock in one of the most lovable hits of the 90s.
He's in a kung fu shoot.
He's his fiancé. His fiancé?
A film to awaken the romance in us all.
Who are you?
While you were sleeping, tonight on 7.
One-ton rodeo. One-ton rodeo. One-ton rodeo.
Holden Rodeo V6. The most powerful V6 one-tonner. The one and only range of Holden Rodeo V6s.
It's a tense moment. Will our Visa card holder from Manly win Sydney 2000 Olympic Games tickets? The wallet's out and he's going for another card. Oh, beautiful finger flick. And yes, there's the Visa card. Look at that. Let's see that again. The dummy to the other card fooled everyone, and then that beautiful move. Fabulous. Use your Visa card and you could be eligible to win tickets to the Sydney 2000 Olympic Games.
Listerine is clinically proven to kill the germs that cause bad breath, plaque, and the gum disease gingivitis. In fact, it kills over 1 million germs in seconds. Listerine. It's dynamite against germs.
Big news! The ants you love are back.
We're the lords of the earth.
There's Z, Fala, and Weaver. Big guy coming through. Ants.
It's Insectopia.
You can own one of the coolest movies of the year today. Rated PG.
These photo albums hold 72 photos, unbelievable price, just $1.
Don't whinge next week if you come in and they're all gone, because once they're sold, they're sold.
Socks, $1. Weller colour mousse. Various shades, just $2. It's a silly price. They got chocolate mousse.
Magic window planter with vase, just $2. They are magic.
Big 30-centimetre garden pots with a saucer. How much are they?
$2.
$2. Set of 2 wiper blades, just $1. Ridiculous price. $1 a set.
Welcome back, and as we've just seen, the Adelaide Crows have been beaten by the West Coast in Perth. The Eagles once again tearing the heart out of the visitors with an early burst. The final margin, 54 points.
Looking for rebound, Coach Blight started Hart, McLeod, Smart and James in defence. And in his first match of the season, Rod Jamieson marked them goal to give the Crows a great start. Mitchell White, though, replied for the Eagles.
That's not a bad effort on that football. That was a great goal.
And with former Crow Rintoul winning possessions at will, the Eagles kicked away to an early lead. No Cousins or Kemp for the West Coast, but it was in total control of the midfield with Peter Matera at the helm. He linked up with brother Phil, and the Eagles were 34 points clear. Cummings was leading strongly. Mark Stevens' super mark and goal looked like mere consolation for the Crows. They trailed by 40 points at the half. The Crows chipping away at the Eagles' lead with first Pittman scoring and then Burton rather more extravagantly.
Wheels it round on the left foot, right to the square, big fly.
Burton making light of a tight angle. But when asked the question, the Eagles had all the answers. Brilliant work from Ruckman Ball. And when the inspired Cummings stripped the ball from Tyson, Matera nudged through his fourth. Blight not exactly delighted with Burton's contribution, and when the Crows took to the field for the last term, they looked a beaten team. White preparing them for the knockout blow, and Cummings the chief beneficiary as the Eagles kicked away. Paul Dowling, 7 Nightly News.
Meanwhile, Port Adelaide is back on the winners list after a tough month. The Power pulled off a gutsy 39-point win against Carlton last night, and the return to form was well timed with a tough 2 weeks coming up.
After a week of intense pressure, the Power players responded in the best possible way.
I thought it was a great turnaround from last week, and you know, everyone at the club has had a tough last month, and I congratulate them on their effort.
Well, I don't think you could ask for a much better effort than the guys have put out today. Under a lot of pressure, supposedly gutless, but I don't think so anymore.
Treadray once again led from the front, and with Josh Franco in charge of the Power midfield, only poor kicking by Port kept Carlton in the game.
I think the first half we kicked 8 goals, 9, so you might say, gee whiz, that wasn't working, but second half I think we kicked 11 goals too, so maybe the goal scoring does work.
I thought it was obvious that we were deficient in so many areas. In the finish, we destroyed ourselves. I mean, it was really a very ordinary night for the Carlton Footy Club.
Dean Rice was the only report from a game that saw numerous blood rule delays. There's no doubt the AFL will have a good look at the video tomorrow. Braden Lyle added yet another hamstring to the injured list, but this morning the players' spring was back in their step. It'll be needed with St Kilda and North coming up with both games away.
2 other games today, and Sydney has continued its resurgence and thrown more question marks over the Cats with a 41-point win at Geelong.
In the middle. The Swans without Paul Kelly, the focus on Tony Lockett. Another dozen and the all-time goal-kicking record would be his.
Lockett's got it.
And it was all Plugger, front and centre in the first quarter.
10 to go.
The big man unstoppable one-on-one. He kicked 3 for the quarter, and the record looked a real possibility. It was a shootout. Geelong had answers, but Sydney by 11 points at quarter time. The Lockett show continued in the second quarter as Sydney kicked away to a 28-point lead.
Brad, I think he's done it. And then there were 7.
But 2 goals inside the last minute of the first half kept the Cats in touch. Lockett again in the third quarter, 6 to go, but from there Geelong closed him down, but his teammates took up the slack. Stoneham should have spare time on his hands after this hit on Jared Bennett. But the Cats not good enough to stay with the Swans. The lead out to 52 points at one stage, eventually the win by 41 points. For Lockett, 6 to go. Nick McArdle, 7 Nightly News.
And Richmond led by 50 points at the MCG, lost the lead with 4 minutes to play. Then Broderick and Richardson rescued the Tigers and probably coach Jeff Geeshan.
Even the cheer squad used another week of bad press to motivate the Tigers, but the Lions hit first, Clark goaling inside 30 seconds. Matthew Richardson pulled in a one-hander, but having seen it all before, the fans reserved their judgment. Matthew Knight's pleading for some emotion as Richmond took the first term by 20 points. With Campbell adding extra scoring power from the goal square, the Tigers broke away to a 50-point lead. Former Lion Rory Hilton everywhere.
Hilton's gone, he's going to kick a goal!
But Brisbane fought back late with Lepage thrown into attack. Jeff Geeshan given a 28-point half-time buffer. In all too familiar scenes, the Tigers were then overran. The Lions allowed to move the ball with numbers, much to Geeshan's disgust.
25 metres out, Ashcroft kicks a goal!
Malloy took the sting out of Knight's game, and despite some courageous defence, Brisbane closed in fast. Brad Boyd putting the Lions in front as the clock ticked into time on.
Puts the Lions in front!
However, just as things looked lost, Richo came to the rescue, 2 late goals, giving him a match-winning 6 for the match. The coach almost managing a smile as Richmond returned to the winners list.
To the ladder, and the Eagles move 2 games clear, but just 1 separates second-place Brisbane and Sydney in 12th, with Hawthorn and Richmond now just another game back. The Crows and Port right in the middle. Pat Rafter is 1 win away from the world #1 tennis ranking after a straight sets win over Felix Mantilla in Rome. He now meets Brazilian Gustavo Curtin, who beat another Spaniard in Alex Corretja.
Rafter's tactics were on show early against Mantilla. First serve in, take the net and volley deep. It paid dividends, the Spaniard unable to hit past him at all. His outfit contrasted to the mood of Mantilla. Rafter, dominant on serve and in most departments, a confident closing out of the match, which he finished off with a fine overhead. The world #1 ranking now but 1 match away.
It's going to be a big 5-set match tomorrow, and now I can go home and put my feet up.
In cricket, media comments by Shane Warne about Sri Lankan captain Arjuna Ranatunga have seen the leg spinner fined half of 1 match payment and a suspended 2-game ban. The penalty, believed to be worth more than $1,000, was handed down in Worcester by West Indian referee Cammy Smith. 2 cup matches overnight saw tournament favourite South Africa down India by 4 wickets. Jacques Kallis leading the way with 96, while Zimbabwe scored a 5-wicket win over Kenya at Taunton. Drama for South Africa, though. Their skipper Hansie Cronje asked to remove an earpiece wire to the dressing room. In the middle, Ganguly steered the Indians in the right direction, some heavy hitting moving him into the 90s. He was run out on 97, India 5 for 253 from their 50 overs. Kallis and Cronje belted the Indian attack after early setbacks before Kallis was run out on 97. Rhodes remained unbeaten on 39, South Africa home by 4 wickets, and unruly spectator, the final run out of the day. Peter Vandy, 7, Nightly News.
And rain has caused havoc with the V8s at Phillip Island. Holden's Craig Lowndes survived the carnage, stretching his championship lead, while teammate Mark Scaife took the overall honours in round 4.
Circuit gave the V8s their first taste of the wet this season. A puddle on the main straight, sending Jason Bargwanna into a heart-stopping slide at 230 kilometres an hour. The casualties mounted.
Oh, nasty.
A lucky escape for Dougal McDougall when his Holden burst into flames.
Obviously, Dougal McDougall is okay.
Scaife and Lowndes were untouchable in race 1, only Scaife's 2nd win ever at the island. Drier conditions took the drama out of race 2. Glenn Seaton got his Falcon right to the tail of Craig Lowndes, but no further. Scaife and Lowndes again 1-2. The wet played havoc with some of the other classes.
Craig Saunders, whack.
Holden's perfect record stayed intact in race 3, Lowndes taking the honours from Scaife.
And West Beach turned on a perfect autumn day for the finals of the National IRB Championships. Better known as Rubber Ducks, almost 1,000 competitors from 58 clubs around the country worked their way through today's finals. The Blue Ribbon Rescue Race was won by Tweed Heads Coolangatta from 2 Victorian clubs, Williamstown and Gunnamatta. Tweed Heads Coolangatta also won overall champion club. Must be something up there in the weather in Queensland. That's Sunday Sport. Enjoy the Cup tomorrow, and my tip, don't back anything I predict. But Jack, just quickly...
That's pretty much true in life, anything you say.
Just quickly, Adelaide United, though, they've had a meeting today, and there's been a bit of a hiccup in trying to join the next year's soccer league. The Friends of West Adelaide voted not to join them, and they'll meet with the Sharks administrators this week. So they can't seem to get anything worked out at West Adelaide at the moment.
The saga continues.
Certainly does.
Keep us posted. Some welcome autumn sunshine in the city today.
In fact, perfect weather for Adelaide's poochers to take a promenade.
Means the hottest Toyota business deals on record, including the finance rate breaker, 5.95% on Land Cruiser 100 Series GX And right now we have factory bonuses for primary producers on Hilux 4x4 and Land Cruiser 75. The heat's on us for hot deals for primary producers. Get in quick. It's our hottest sale on record.
Mitre 10 are giving you and a friend
The chance to win 10 out of 10 prizes.
You'll get to spend grand final week with a Club 10 superstar. We'll have lunch in Sydney.
before going to the Brownlow.
Lunch before the grand final. Then off to the big game.
And party afterwards.
Plus, you can go shopping at Mitre 10 with 10 grand to spend. There's also fantastic weekly prizes to win. Autographed by us.
Just watch Friday Night Footy on 7 for 10 out of 10 prizes.
The sale is now on at Kmart with the brands and the savings on the knitwear and the coats. 25% off. The boots, 25% off. And the towels, pack of 3, $21.95. The sale, now on at the store. Kmart, just what you need.
What's the key to a super fund with really low charges, with no entry or exit fees? A super fund that's returned an average of 11.6%. Your key is statewide superannuation trust. Super you can trust.
Robin Valley Gold, luscious fruits now exotic. Robin Valley Gold, the taste would drive you wild.
Are you feeling stressed? Then you're in good company.
She is really suffering from a major anxiety problem.
Harry's the mind doctor who understands. Next.
Hello again. We had a very cold start to the day. In fact, it got down to -3 at Loxton, Yunta and Renmark overnight. In the city, our top reached 15.3 at around 2 this afternoon, and our low was 6.1 just before 1 this morning. Currently, it's 11 in the city. On our satellite image tonight, most of the continent is cloud-free at the moment, so there's no rain forecast around Australia tomorrow, apart from this cloud band in the southwest here. So if we take a closer look, the radar did pick up some thunderstorm activity and showers moving toward our western borders, with even a few lightning strikes being reported. Well, on tonight's charts, you can see there's a low pressure system moving into the bight from here. It will cause cloud to increase over our state tomorrow, and it will drag that shower activity across our western border districts late tomorrow. The cooler southwesterly change is expected to move over the city tomorrow night, but there's only the slight chance of it producing any showers in Adelaide until Tuesday. Well, around the country tomorrow, lots of sunshine and blue skies forecast, a little early morning fog in Canberra, but apart from that, it's going to be fine and mild right around the country. Well, in our state, we had a very cold and frosty start to the day, but those northeasterly winds did manage to give us warmer daytime temperatures. They ranged from 31 degrees at Mount Dare down to just 9 at Mount Crawford. Our forecast is for another cold and frosty night, especially in the northern and eastern agricultural areas. And then tomorrow will be a fine day with cloud increasing during the day, ahead of a cooler southwesterly change, which will bring a few isolated showers and thunderstorms late tomorrow, but they're not expected to reach Adelaide until after dark. On our local waters, northeast to north winds of 10 to 15 knots, and then freshening to 15 to 20 knots with seas up to 1 metre. In the city, a cloudy but fine day for the Cup. Our top will reach 19 degrees after an overnight low of 9. We're looking ahead, Tuesday showers and 20, Wednesday becoming fine again with a top of 19 degrees and back up to 20 again on Thursday. And on our 7-day outlook, we're expecting another cool change to arrive by next weekend. That's it from me. Good night.
Thanks, Shirley. And today's sunshine provided perfect conditions for dedicated dog owners to take time out to exercise. Canine species of all shapes and sizes sniffed, strutted and strolled their way around Victoria Park Racecourse. The occasion, the Million Paws Walk, a major fundraiser for the RSPCA. For those not quite up to the task at hand, a customised carry bag. But for the rest, it was nose down and tails up.
Dog's a bit lazy.
Yeah.
Been carried around.
Careful where you walk in Victoria Park too. See you next weekend.
Good night.